Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Betting Booth, along with Zach and Jared Sandler. I know billions of you are waiting for that 3:30 start time. We apologize for some delays, but Zach is at Texas Live right now, getting ready to watch Cowboys-Lions. I am still at Nana's house, also getting ready to watch Cowboys-Lions. But what's the scene over there? What's Texas Live like right now?
It's pretty calm right now, actually. There's some lines to get in to get tables, but there's a lot of hype around this Cowboys team right now. The sexiest team in the league. I think a lot of people know this is a playoff atmosphere tonight, playoff game. So I think it's going to get a little rowdy as we get closer to game time. Still a little bit early, but uh, good vibe. This is the scene over here at Texas Live. So
Look at
pumped
that.
up for this is the best Thursday night game we've had in a long time. So it's a gift that we get this good of a game on a Thursday. We get my Cowboys, and both these teams have to win tonight. So it's a playoff game.
So what we're gonna do is we'll talk about Cowboys Lions, give you our picks for that game, and then we'll draft our three picks for the week. Just because chances are, if you're not watching this live, you're not gonna watch it in time to get a Cowboys Lions pick in. So we don't want to waste any of our picks for you this weekend to help you become millionaires. But all right, this is an interesting one because it's like you said, this is a really important game for both teams, and that stuff does matter, right? What's on the line, what's at stake for each side is significant. The Cowboys have totally changed their identity, and all of a sudden they look like a team that is a playoff caliber team, and they're fighting for that. Well, the Lions at one point maybe you would have said was the best team in the NFC, but they're going in a totally different direction, and health is not on their side the way that maybe it's been improving for the Cowboys. So the line is what do we see? I mean, I know it got down to 3. Is it back up to 3.5? What are you
So
seeing with this line right now?
it got down to 3. I think with the announcement of Amon St. Brown playing, I guess he looked really good in warmups. He did his normal workout routine in warmups, and he's give it a go tonight. So you're seeing some books move it back to 3.5. I think with that news and some money coming in on the Lions with that news coming in. But if you're betting the Cowboys, you could probably find some 3s out there, 3.5s. If you're betting the Lions, you could find some 3s. So that hook's super important. But on my book right now, seeing 3.5 since the St. Brown news came down.
So I think I texted you. It must have been Sunday night, and I was like, "Hey, Lions laying 3. This seems like I got to take the Lions here." But then the more I thought about it, I think I texted you maybe the other day. I was like, "I think I'm going to buy out of this Lions position," and I've not only bought out of this Lions position, I'm now playing the Cowboys, and I just actually played it again at 3.5 because I got it earlier at 3.
Right.
I really like the Cowboys. I'll share why in a second, but I'm curious, what's your initial read on this?
So everything in my body, my emotion, everything I've seen the last few weeks, every fabric of my being wants to bet the Cowboys. It's the team that's looked better the last 3 weeks. These are not the Lions of old. They're hurt everywhere. They're hurt on the offensive line. And we've talked about their injuries. They're hurt in the defensive backfield. They're going to play man coverage against Pickens and Lamb. No Laporta. We thought no St. Brown. They're getting St. Brown back, but these are not the Lions of old. Like I said, everything makes me want to bet the Cowboys, but this is a Lions spot for a professional bettor. I'm wearing a Dak Prescott jersey right now at Texas Live. I'm not going to be betting the Lions, but I'm not going to be playing the Cowboys either. I just know these spots. The Lions, we talked about it, 14 straight wins after a loss. They were 13 in a row against the spread after a loss until that Giants game where they only won by a touchdown. They did not cover that game. So 13-1 in their last 14 after a loss. And the books know what they're doing here. It's if you break down the Cowboys' last 3 games, they beat the Vegas Raiders. We've talked about them a lot on this show and what kind of team they are. They beat a Philadelphia. Yeah, they beat a Philadelphia team who I played this last week and got burned on. We don't know what that offense is doing. They're maybe a bottom 5 offense in the NFL right now, the way they're playing. And we don't know what we're getting week to week with them. And then the most impressive of the 3 to me was the Kansas City win on Thanksgiving, which a couple calls go a different way in that game. A couple, the randomness of the NFL 60-minute game. that game could have been a different outcome as well. So Lions at home at 3 point, they were a 3 point favorite against the Packers last week at home. So are we saying now that the Cowboys are the same level of team as the Packers as a 3 point dog here? So when you look at the numbers, this game should really be a 4.5 point line to me. But it's not the Lions of old. It's you have all these injuries, so I don't want to back that team either. I'm just not going to get trapped here betting the Cowboys when everybody's betting them. There's money pouring in on the Cowboys right now. They're the sexiest team in the league. I've seen this spot too many times, so I'm going to stay patient here and cheer for the Cowboys. I'm here at Texas Live, and I'm not going to be cheering against the Cowboys, but I'm playing the under in this game. I think with the playoff atmosphere of the game, the Lions are going to get back to running the football tonight, and I think 55 is just it's too big of a number. I think there's some value there. So I'll be playing the under. It's not a fun thing to cheer for, the under. And maybe the game's 24-21 in the second quarter, and I'm kicking myself at how I could take the under. But that's why I think I completely understand why you're betting the Cowboys and why that makes some sense.
Yeah, and I was going to say, though, and I'm glad you brought it up, and I tweeted this a couple of days ago, my bigger play, it's not a huge play, but my bigger play in this game is the under. Now, I actually played it at 54.5. I wish I would have waited. I didn't realize it was going to climb another full point. You can get it at 55.5 now.
Right.
But I like that too. And the Lions' lack of an O-line, I think contributes to that, their desire to run the ball. Listen, it's great that Amon-Ra St. Brown's playing. He's one of these guys who you never really question unless he's got like a broken bone or like a broken leg. Like he probably was going to play the minute they didn't rule him out, like initially earlier in this week. Probably was going to play, but I don't know how good he's going to be and how healthy he's going to be. And maybe he's fine. There's medicine that they can take to delay the pain for a few hours. But I do like the under in this game as well. And the reality is the Cowboys offense hasn't been as awesome on the road as they've been at home, even though this is going to be a fast track indoors. I like the under in this game too. And I think the other thing with me, Zach, is and this is such a weird thing to say, and I don't know how many teams you say this about, but like to me, it comes down to fourth down because we've seen and we've talked about it, like that Eagles-Lions game. That game was totally shaped by the Lions going 0 for 5 on fourth down, right? If they convert one of those fourth downs, maybe it's a different outcome. But no team is more aggressive on fourth down. And this is a must-win game for the Lions. And, I feel like if you feel like Dan Campbell is, aggressive on a 1 to 10 scale at 10 usually, it's going to be a 12 if he senses any kind of an opportunity. But with that offensive line that's so beat up, it hasn't yielded the results it typically has. So I think a lot of the outcome of this game, just from like a winning and losing standpoint and the number, is going to come down to fourth down opportunities for the Lions and how the Lions, or from the Cowboys' perspective, how the Cowboys defend fourth down. So I'm curious how this game plays out.
I agree with you there, and I don't have all my stats in front of me because Jared's real job got in the way of
it's
our.
My fault. Totally my fault.
All of my great stats, but the variance of the game has been against the Lions the last couple of weeks, and that's why usually these things kind of even out. They're 0 for 7, I think, on their last 7 fourth down attempts. Over the last 3 games, 0 of 7. That Packers game, they went 0 of 2, and the Packers went for it on fourth down twice and scored touchdowns on both of those plays. And the Packers ended up winning by 7. So those fourth downs go differently. Again, the outcome of the game is different. Turnovers, the Lions have been on the wrong side of the turnover margin the last few games. Dak, is probably due to throw a pick in this game at some point. These things just balance out in a weird way in football. And I think the variance, you could see it swing to the Lions tonight. I think the fourth down, I don't see them going 0 for 10 on fourth down. They're going to get one of these fourth downs in this game. And the Lions defensively, their weakness is the secondary, but that front is still solid. They still have Aiden Hutchinson, DJ Reader. Tyler Guyton, I don't think is going to play in this game. So you could see the Lions get some pressure on Dak in this game. I don't know. I don't see the Cowboys laying an egg. I think this team is better since the trade. We've seen improvement, but I can't. The numbers, just from a value perspective, I don't think there's value on the three. Does that mean the Cowboys could come out and win this game? Of course, the Cowboys can come out and win by a touchdown. And I wish I'd bet the Cowboys, but I don't think there's value there. So I'm going to stay away. Just play the value game and play the under in this spot.
All right, well, let's see how this one plays out. Let's get to the rest of Week 14. So, if you're not watching this live, this is the stuff that's going to be relevant to you. You could be laughing at us for just totally missing the boat on this one, because if you're not watching this live, you probably know the outcome of the Lions and the Cowboys. But last week, you went 1-2. You went with Philly laying 7. That was a surprising loss. We both loved that one. You had the first pick. You took it. I would have taken that with my first pick. And that was a huge surprise, the way that game unfolded, with the Bears just running all over the Eagles. You had a great pick with Carolina, not only as 10-point dogs, but coming up on the winning side of things. And then Pittsburgh, that game turned. You had Pittsburgh getting 3.5. That game totally turned on the sack fumble, the beginning of the third quarter,
Right.
and that swung in favor of the Bills. So who knows what happens if that one single play doesn't unfold the way it did. I went 2-1. I had Seattle laying 11.5 over a really shitty Minnesota team. I had the Giants on Monday night getting 7.5. That didn't work out so well. The Patriots had their way. And then I had the Jets getting 2.5, and the Jets ended up winning that game in overtime on a Nick Folk field goal just at the end of regulation. So some close calls. They always are. And that takes us to Week 14. So I think, because I went 2-1, I'll take the first pick this week. And I still don't know that I have like a strong conviction on where I want to go on this, but I kind of want to go back to the New York Jets. And I think I'm going to go back to the New York Jets. The Jets have actually been pretty good to me. And as painful as that is to have to watch them and feel good about the New York Jets, they are at home against the Dolphins. The Jets are I played it earlier in the week, 3-point dogs. I think the line is maybe right now settled more at 2.5-point dogs. And maybe that hook is a difference maker. But to me, I don't have a ton of analysis on this, Zach. It is simply Tua on the road in cold weather. He is not very good in this spot. He has never really been very good in this spot. We've seen it play out even in that year in which he made all his money and led the Dolphins to the playoffs. He was not big. I think the season ended in a playoff game on the road in cold weather. And the Jets defense, even after trading away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, they've actually been pretty good. They've been fine. Tyrod Taylor's, been a covering machine, and we've talked about it. He moves the ball downfield a little bit better than Justin Fields is able to. And John Mechie didn't have a good game last week. Adonai Mitchell was better. But those two guys have been helping them push the ball downfield. Breece Hall's had a good year. So I like the Jets as home dogs in cold weather against the Dolphins. That's my first pick. I'll take them at 2.5 because I think that's what the line is more commonly right now.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my picks. It wasn't going to be my first pick, but I thought you might go with that one. I had heard early in the week that there was going to be a snowstorm in New York, and I couldn't wait to bet against Tua in the cold weather. Apparently, the snowstorm has subsided, and it's going to be 30 degrees still. It's just not going to be snowing as of now. But Tua in cold weather, you fade it, and it makes you money, especially as a favorite. And we've been making money on this Jets team the last few weeks. We've been saying it. Tyrod covers. He just finds a way to cover. I think he's covered now 7 of his last 8, and he's, overall cover record is almost 70%. So no matter how many times this Jets team covers, the public doesn't want to back him. The public is still backing Miami. Miami looks, even though they didn't cover against New Orleans, they dominated that game for most of the game and just got backdoor covered at the end. So the public still wants to back Tua as a favorite in cold weather. We'll take the value there on the home dog, a Jets team that's been making us money. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. Go back to the well on the Jets. I like it.
Hey, so I want you to help me explain something here because you'll hear people throw out trends. Like if you look at Indy Jacksonville, maybe that's a game we talked about. Jacksonville's dominated Indy at home over the last however many years. And some people love that stuff. Other people say, well, what does that matter? Because, Shane Steichen wasn't the head coach for all those games and Daniel Jones wasn't the quarterback for all those games. What does it matter what happened between these two teams in 2012? Some people do like that sort of thing. But when you talk about Tyrod Taylor being a covering machine, I think to me some of that stuff's relevant because Vegas plays to the public, right? They make lines based on what they think is going to help them make money against the public. And I think a lot of when you tell me Tyrod Taylor's a covering machine, Tyrod Taylor's not a sexy quarterback. The public does not like to back Tyrod Taylor. So that's why he's in some of these favorable covering spots. So I think that's a trend to me that's relevant because what it's telling me is what you sort of touched on is that the public prefers to play two in this spot. But over and over and over, the public gets burned. And so that's why a quarterback who's got a trend that points in a certain direction, whether in a favorable or an unfavorable way, to me, that is a little bit telling, right?
I completely agree. I think another thing with trends is scheme. Like a lot of these teams, like this week, we have Sean McVay against the Cardinals. I'm not saying whether I'm playing either side in that game, but McVay owns the Cardinals because of scheme. The scheme that the Cardinals run and the scheme that the Rams run, he just owns them. So you have to look at these trends when they go back 30 years. You're like, okay, does this really matter? But especially over the last few years, when it comes to scheme, when it comes to certain players that are quarterbacks that are not valued by the public or teams that are not valued by the public in certain spots, you have to look at those and take them into account. And some of that history repeats itself. So, I like what you said about Tyrod. The public still, he doesn't make it look pretty, but he gets the job done. So I think it makes sense to back him here.
All right. What's your first pick going to be?
So it's a little bit of a chalky first pick, which is surprising for me. I've been waiting all year for this team to not be backed by the public, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And this line opened at, this is a surprising one, I know, there's a lot of sharp bettors and pros that are backing this Texans team. This line opened at, I think, 4.5 at some books, and is down to 3. And if you're giving me 3 with the public backing the Texans in a primetime game with Mahomes as a short favorite in a week where the Chiefs have to have this game. The Chiefs have won this game for the last decade with Mahomes. They win these games. And at 3.5, 4, I didn't love it. But seeing it get down to 3, I can't pass it up. It's going to be my top play of the week. I'm going to be on the money line. I'm going to be on the 3. And it's too short of a favorite. This Texans offense, yes, they have one of the best defenses in the league, arguably the best defense in the league, but at some point, having that shitty of an offense is going to come back and haunt you. And on the road in KC, on a neutral field, I thought KC would be a 3-point favorite. Now you're giving me 3 at home in a primetime game with Mahomes. It's a chalky pick, but it's a chalky pick on a team that now is being finally, the public has come off of them. And about 60% of the bets are coming in on the Texans. So give me the Chiefs. Give me Mahomes in a primetime game. I'm locked in on this one. I already played the money line. I played it at 3. I still think you get at 3. I would be, if it gets down to 2.5, I'll barrel more on it, but I don't think you'll see it get down to 2.5. So if you're still seeing 3, I would say KC at that number.
And I know this isn't necessarily always the most healthy way to look at things, but you're kind of asking yourself, do you really believe that Kansas City is going to miss the playoffs? Because if they lose this game, it is not going to bode well for them. And they can win the game and not cover, right? 3 points, you could see that fall within that, that gap. But yeah, I think if you feel like Kansas City is going to be a team that finds its way back in the playoffs, this is an Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs spot. And you mentioned it, prime time. I like that. I don't know if that might have been my third pick. That's definitely one I had on my board. I like that. And I think I'll definitely tail you on that one. All right. Well, I'm going to go with a team that I went with last week again. I don't think I'm going to go with all three of my teams last week, but I like this spot once more, and that's Seattle. I like Seattle on the road against the Falcons as big favorites. They're laying 7, but Seattle's been really good on the road. They've been really good on the East Coast. And I think I heard this or read this stat the other day that the Seahawks, their last 10 games in the 1 o'clock Eastern window, 12 o'clock Central, they've been absolutely dominant. And Sam Darnold in those spots, 8-2 against the spread. Darnold didn't have to do a whole lot last week because Max Brosmer was awful. But Atlanta hasn't been able to stop anything or anyone here recently. Kirk Cousins in any situation is not a situation that I feel good about. And I just think the Seahawks team's really good. They kind of played with their food for a couple weeks. And even though they covered last week, it was more dominant defensively than some sort of offensive explosion. But I love betting against Kirk Cousins. I love this Seahawks team. They have shown that they can be really good. They've actually been better on the road than they've been at home. So I'm going to take the Seahawks laying 7 against the Falcons in an early game for a West Coast team, but a spot that they've had a lot of success in, especially under Mike McDonald.
I got to get you a Sam Darnold USC jersey. You've been
I know. I've been riding that. And I was the biggest Sam Darnold hater when he was coming. I was like, this guy is not going to be good. He is not worth the pick. And for a few years, it looked right, but credit to him. He's turned things around. Minnesota's kicking themselves right now, I think, for not sticking with Sam Darnold for at least another year, because they'd be in a totally different conversation if they had better quarterback play.
For sure. And I was kicking myself not playing Seattle last week. I told you Brosmer might not be a step down from JJ. And then we saw that he got thrown to the Wolves last week, and I felt bad for the kid. He wasn't ready for that spot. So you were dead on in that spot. I haven't played this game at the 7.5 number. I thought it was a Falcons number. And I've seen it come down to 7, even with money coming in on Seattle. So that scares me a bit. I don't really understand why you have Kirk Cousins against this Seattle defense. You have no Drake London in this game, most likely. And Seattle stops the run. So that means it's going to be Kirk in the drop back with Leonard Williams and the boys coming after him, and no Drake London as an outlet. So I don't really understand why the line has moved that it is, but the books are telling me that Atlanta's sharp. So that scares me a bit. All the stats say, though, that this is a great spot for Seattle. I think McDonald, since he's been the head coach, is something like 9-3 against the spread on the road. They're a great road team. This is their 4th road game in 5 weeks or something like that. Either 3 or 4 or 4 or 5. So they've been traveling a bunch, maybe a little bit of a concern. They cover these big numbers. I think Darnold is 8-2 in his career with a line of 6 or more against the spread. So, like you said, he didn't play well last week, and they still won by 25. So you expect the offense to play better. I think Smith and Jigba had 1 catch last week. I think he's going to have a better game in this game. So I could see them blowing the doors off. I haven't played it yet just because of the line movement and being a little scared off that the books are moving it towards Atlanta, even with the money coming in on Seattle. So a little bit of a wait and see. If I get the number, if it gets to 6.5, I'll probably play Seattle. I'm gonna wait and see if it moves even more. If the sharps come in on Atlanta, maybe we get 6.5 on Sunday, and I'll play Seattle. But right now, it's a stay away right now.
All right. Well, what's your next pick? Where are you going?
The next pick, and I've been on this team. I was kicking of all the bets I made last week. I wasn't really mad. I mean, I was mad about the Eagles result. I wasn't mad about the bet. I think the Eagles would be a big favorite against Chicago again tomorrow at home. The books would still make it 6 tomorrow if it was Chicago at Philly, and I'd probably be on Philly again. There's the randomness of this game. They had a tush push in the red zone in the second half where they fumble the ball and they're about to go up by a touchdown or by 6 in the second half, and the game's completely different. So the game I was mad I bet was the Pittsburgh game, and made a mistake in that game. I said, I don't know what this team is good at. And I think every split in the Steelers-Ravens game tells you should be betting the Steelers. Like the underdog in this series in the last 15 years is something like 23-7 against the spread. I don't have all my stats in front of me, but it's a ridiculous win split against the spread. Tomlin as a dog, we keep talking about. As a big dog, even better. As more than a 4-point dog, he covers every time. But I think this might be the end for Aaron Rodgers and your boy Aaron Rodgers.
He is my boy. I love him.
There's a lot of talk that he might want to play another year. I just don't see it with this team. You look at some of the stats. They haven't. This is a crazy one. They haven't completed a 20-yard pass in 5 weeks. So they haven't completed a pass of more than 20 yards in 5 weeks. That's an insane stat.
That's so crazy.
Like 70% of Rodgers' yards for the year are after the catch. So he's not getting the ball downfield. And this is more of a fate of the Steelers than it is a bet on the Ravens. But this is a game for the division. Both teams have the same record at the Ravens. I think that Ravens-Bengals game could have gone a lot of different ways if the Ravens would have stuck to running the ball. They went away from Derrick Henry. I'm not sure why. And I think in this game, they're going to feed Derrick Henry. The Steelers' defense isn't what it was. TJ Watt is not – I don't know if there's something – if he's hurt or if there's something wrong with him, but he's not getting to the quarterback like he used to. There's some concern about Lamar's health, but I'm going to take this spot with the Ravens. I'm going to wait. I get 5.5 right now. I might get a better line by kickoff, but I'm going to play the Ravens in a spot where every statistical, historical data is telling you should be taking the Steelers in this spot. I think this team is a little bit in disarray right now, and I think Rodgers is on his way out, and I'm going to take the Ravens.
I agree. That was going to be my next pick. And I thought about taking it ahead of that Seattle pick that I just gave out. I agree. I mean, we talked about this, I think maybe the first episode. I played the Ravens when they were, 1-5 to win the division. And this is a game that I just – they're going to win. Any sort of money line parlay, I feel really good about playing the Ravens. And I agree with you. Tomlin has had a history of following particular trends. And he's made a lot of people a lot of money by sticking to those trends. You fade him as a home favorite. You ride him as, a dog. But I hate to say this. I mean, he had better quarterback play, even when the Steelers were in a state of disarray. I mean, Rodgers is just bad. And he needs to retire. It's the end of the road. I'd love to know what it would have been like had he not torn his Achilles. Maybe it would have been the same thing. Maybe he would have been absolutely awesome that first year with the Jets, but he just isn't the same guy. And I don't think this Pittsburgh team's very good. If they were wearing different, I think there's certain teams like the Spurs and the Popovich era, you could throw 12 random people, put them in a Spurs jersey, and it's like, wow, they're probably going to compete really well. And for a long time, that's been the Steelers, right? That's why Tomlin's had this ridiculous run. But it just this group's different, and I believe in Baltimore, and I don't think Pittsburgh's very good. It's impressive that they've even won as many games as they've won. So I like this pick. I definitely think this is the right side.
Yeah, like you said, this is a spot we would blindly bet the Steelers in years past and make money. Whoever the dog was in this series, we would just blindly bet the dog, and you're making at an 80% clip. You're printing money, but I don't really get the hate for Tomlin. I heard Ben Roethlisberger say some stuff in the media this week about Tomlin. It's very strange. It's not like Tomlin's the one making these personnel decisions. He's not the one who – I'm sure he was involved in the decision, but he didn't sign Rodgers in this deal. He didn't pay, some of the defensive players, give TJ Watt this huge contract, give Hayward this contract, trade Minka Fitzpatrick. He didn't make all these deals, and he's left with this team. I think he's done a lot with the talent in the past few years, and even this year to be a 500 ball club with this team, it's impressive to me. So I think this is where the rubber meets the road for this team, though, and the Ravens show that it's their division this week, and I think they win handily this week. That's all. Playing the Ravens.
Yep. No, I like it. All right. So my last pick, I'm going to leave a game. I don't know if you're going to do anything with this Indy Jacksonville game. That's an interesting one. I thought about playing the Rams. I like the Rams side here, but I'm going to go with the Bears. That number I've seen as high as 6.5. I don't know that it'll get to. Oh, sorry, I take that back. It's at 7, so I love it at 7. The fact that it's going to 7 maybe tells me I'm falling for some sort of a trap, but I don't know. I've watched this Bears team, and a part of me feels like they're definitely fraudulent, but I think Ben Johnson's the real deal. I think he is an outstanding coach. They have been winning in spite of Caleb Williams. I think he even said that or something. But I do think I haven't given up on Caleb Williams yet, but they're winning games, and the Packers don't typically blow teams out. They have played to the level of their competition. They've played a lot of close games. 7's a big number. I mean, that's it's not easy to cover a divisional game, especially when you're the 7-point favorite against the team that's winning the division right now. And I know that we could all look and say, hey, the Packers are better than the Bears. But right now the Bears are winning the division. Doesn't mean they're going to win the division. And I don't think they win the game. But that's just too big of a number. I'm playing this because I believe in Ben Johnson. I love the way the Bears run the ball. And a lot of people think about Ben Johnson and what he did with Jared Goff as a passer. But Ben Johnson developed and schemed up the Sonic and Knuckles dynamic duo attack in Detroit. This is not a surprise that he has figured out a way to unlock DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monungai and make these guys who they've been. I mean, again, they ran for over 250 against the Eagles, and the Bears have been running machines. The Packers defensively have been really strong against the pass. They've struggled a little bit at times. They've been vulnerable at times against the run. The Bears line play has been good. I like that. And yeah, the Packers this year, they're a really good team. They're not a team that, I think is going to be an easy out in the playoffs. And what they've done against Detroit is nothing to scoff at, winning both their games against the Lions, but they just don't typically blow teams out. They even let the Lions back in that game last week on Thursday when they probably should have won that game more handily. So if you're giving me 7 with the Bears, the numbers continuing to climb. So usually maybe that's a sign I'm falling for a trap here, but I'll fall for it. And I'll come back next week and say, hey, you know what? I should have known, but I like the Bears here getting 7 points.
So I'm playing a bunch of gross games this week that I considered taking. New Orleans, one of them. I'm probably going to play the Browns. But for the fun of the show, we finally have a game where we are in disagreement. And I can take the other side. So for the fun of the show, we'll be adversaries on this game. I got the 6.5 number, so maybe you can get the +7 and I'll get the -6.5. And and if it lands on 7, you can we can get a push and a win. But
there you go.
I'm gonna keep fading. I caught so much shit from my Bears friends. The millions of Bears fans that listen to the show last week for fading them. This is, I've been saying it, but it's still peak for this Bears team as far as the market. The market on them right now is they're at their peak. We got Ben Johnson taking his shirt out after the game. Maybe if they win this week, he'll take his pants off. But do I need to move?
No.
Oh.
I was going to ask you, can we sit with you?
Oh, what's up?
I was going to ask you, can we sit with you?
Oh, yeah, you can sit right here. We got a real Cowboys fan right here. Yeah, we're on a show right now. Yeah, you can come sit right here. I'm doing a show right now, so. No, we're gonna ask you for a pick on the game, though.
Do what?
We're gonna get you your pick on the Cowboys game. No, you can come sit here. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. We got a real Cowboys fan in the house.
I love it.
I love it. This is peak for the Bears. 9-3. This team is not going to win. I cannot believe they're going to win the NFC and get a bye in the first round. I don't believe it. You still have the second worst strength of schedule in the NFL. They have no linebackers. They have no linebacking play, and somehow the Eagles found a way to not take advantage of it. I'm not sure how. LaFleur is not going to do that. LaFleur is going to be ready for this game. He's going to be schemed up for this game, and I think it's going to carve up that defense. And there's just too much value here. I got my model at Packers as like a -8 in this game at home. There's a reason. There's money pouring in on the Bears. Bears money line, Bears +6. They made this line this big for a reason. And with all this money pouring in, the line didn't budge all week, and now it's moved to 7. Like, super eye-opening at this huge number. So I'll catch a bunch of shit again from my Bears friends, but this is a classic pros versus the public spot where they made this line the way it is this reason. You looked at it and it's eye-popping. Wow. Again, 9-3 team, and I faded the Bears the last 2 weeks. I had a push with the Steelers, and I lost against the Eagles. So I'll catch a bunch of shit again if I lose here, but there's too much value here in this spot, and the Bears aren't the class of the NFC. They're not. And so I'll eat my words if the Bears win this game somehow, get a bye, and make a run in the playoffs. But I don't see it yet. And Ben Johnson's been somehow finding a way, and I think the variance is going to catch up this week. So give me the Packers. We're finally have a game where we can be on different sides.
I like it. No, that'll be fun. And, it's interesting because I said earlier with your Ravens Steelers pick, and also when you mentioned the Chiefs, like it's easy to line up with the Chiefs this week or the Ravens because I don't see those teams not winning, in the Chiefs case, not winning their division, but not missing the playoffs. I don't see the Ravens giving up that division. And yet I feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I don't think the Bears are going to win. I agree with you, everything you're saying about the Bears. I don't see them winning the division. I see them being a one and done in the playoffs just because of Caleb Williams' inconsistencies so far. But I guess that number maybe.
Yeah, seven's
I'm a Packers fan.
Seven's a lot.
And I know, when you're a fan of a team, this is where it can get dangerous. You see their warts. I'm more inclined to bet against my team than for them because of that. But that'll be an interesting one. And I mean, hey, I love that we're in week 14 and, that's a marquee matchup. I think they've already flexed. This is the first time they played this year. I think they play again in 2 weeks and they've already flexed that game into prime time. That's cool that the Bears-Packers rivalry means something again. I want to ask you a quick question. But we'll recap the picks. So you're going with 3 favorites. You got KC laying 3, Baltimore laying 5.5, the Packers laying 6.5. I'm going with 2 dogs and a favorite. I got the Jets getting 2.5, the Bears getting 7, the Seahawks laying 7. But I'm counting right now. I think there are 5 games right now that have favorites of 7 or more points. We had some dogs win last week that turned some heads. Is there a money line dog play that you like this week for one of those larger spread games?
Say the end of that one more time. I had someone in my ear.
Yeah, is there one of the dogs? Is any of the dogs? So we got the Cardinals are 8.5 point dogs. We got the Bears 7 point dogs. The Raiders 7.5 point dogs. The Falcons 7 point dogs. The Saints 8.5 point dogs. Five teams that are getting more than or at least 7 points. Any of those teams you like is live to win outright?
Not really. I would say of those, the weird one is Arizona, and I might play the Rams at 8.5. And with me saying that, but I'd say money line wise, the Rams coming off an emotional loss with the travel. This is kind of a sandwich game where they have the Lions next week in a big matchup. And Brissett's been good. And it's a division game, and these division games, weird things happen. But I say that McVay has owned the Cardinals over the last few years. So of those, I'd probably pick either the Cardinals or the Falcons as the 2. The Broncos haven't covered in any of these big spreads all year. I think they're like 2-6 and against the spread as a favorite or something like that. So I'm not going to play the Raiders. I've been burned too many times, but you can make a case for the Raiders. I think what makes this week great is it's gut check week for a lot of teams. This is the gut check week where it's make or break for so many teams. The Texans, Chiefs, the Steelers, Ravens, Cowboys-Lions tonight. Are these teams, of teams of old, or are they the new teams? Are the Bears of old, or is this Ben Johnson team a different team? Are the Cowboys gonna lay an egg in this spot like they usually do, or is this a new and improved Cowboys team? So there's a lot to look forward to this week. It's a really fun week in the NFL. And it's weird. I have these chalky bets. I can't believe I have Ravens, Chiefs, and Packers. It's not normal for me. Usually I'm on a little bit of grocery games as my picks, but that's just looking for value in the games and finding the spots I like. So,
and I'll tell you, if I were to play one of those dogs to win money line, I would take the Raiders. Broncos have won 9 straight. They're going on the road, divisional game. It's not that this game doesn't mean anything for the Broncos because they only have 2 games up on the Chargers. But and I'm not saying that I'm picking the Raiders to win necessarily, but if you told me, hey, you got to pick one, I think I would pick the Raiders in a surprise. They're eliminated. They're not playing for anything. They have nothing to lose. The Broncos have won 9 straight. It's so tough to win 10 straight games in the NFL. But the Patriots have done it this year. The Broncos have a chance to do it as well. All right, Zach, enjoy the Texas Live. I know you're not playing the game, so help bring me a little bit of money with a Cowboys cover, and we'll do this again next week.
All right, let's go Cowboys.
Let's do it. There you go, Zach Barrett. I'm Jared Sandler. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on the betting booth. We'll talk to you again next week. Hopefully you make some money this weekend and enjoy your football.